right, we have another game coming up on Sunday. Let's move to the NFC. Got Dallas hosting a playoff game against the Detroit Lions. Both teams that are used to playing indoors are going to have this one. Dallas, about a 7-point favorite. Detroit, 49 is the total on the game. The Lions have not won a playoff game since 1991, and the odds makers are saying that is not going to end with this number. And Dallas lost the opening game of the season, but boy, they've been rolling ever since. Everything going right. 4-0 run coming into the playoffs. 12-3 run overall. You got Tony Romo, 34 years old, but with that ground game has helped him with 34 touchdowns, 9 picks. So, Sean, this is a team that they won at Seattle, but why can't this team dominate at home? What's going on?
Yeah, first of all, the line has been pretty solid 7, and as we do this show, it's still the same. The total, you said 49, that's about right, 48.5. I've seen some of those around making down a little bit. And this is the last of the 4 playoff games. This will go Sunday at 4:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I think Fox is going to cover this one. These teams did not play during the season. Some just standard numbers. Detroit 11-5 straight up, just 7-9 against the bookie. They're a money burner. And how about just 3-7 against the bookie in their last 10 games anywhere? They're 0-5 against the number in the last 5 road games. I mean, for some reason, they just can't step up. Let's talk about this thing with Sue, and I can't pronounce his first name. I'll defer to my friend over here, my young friend over here. Thank you. Making me look bad as usual, right? Now, here's the strange thing, right? This guy is a major part of that defense. I mean, big time. And that line is still sitting here, and he's suspended, supposedly. You guys remember back when the Indianapolis Colts played the Chicago Bears, about 7 or 8 years ago in the Super Bowl? And I can't think of this lineman's name. His first name was Tank of the Chicago Bears.
Tank Williams?
But, yeah, I mean, if that...
Gilbert, Arizona.
Look at this, my man over here. No. Anyway, we're talking, if that's me and you with those charges, we're in jail. We're still under the jail. And they somehow found a way to let him off the hook. And he played in that Bears-Indianapolis game, which I don't know if it made a difference, but the Colts won that by 12. And I'm suspecting the way the NFL works, because they don't care about anything except money in the game. Now, you're talking Aaron Rodgers. You can't just go kicking him around and get away with that. If it's me and you, John, laying on the field, yeah, no problem. You can kick those guys anytime. And I'm wondering if the appeal process somehow finds a way to allow him to play. I mean, in Major League Baseball, we got this guy who spit in the umpire's face in the playoffs about 10 or 12 years ago, and they didn't suspend him till the following year, and I think it was only for a few games. So I'm not convinced that Sue is not going to play.
Well, if he does play, is that going to bring the number down below 7?
Well, it certainly isn't going to get up any higher. I mean, we're talking a guy who's ferocious on defense. I mean, he's got obviously some issues to deal with socially, but the fact is he's a horse. You know, he's a problem, but look at this over here. He's laughing at me. But the fact is, he's a major cog in that defense. I mean, I don't know that he's, an all-star, but you have to account for that. And the line hasn't moved. That's what bothers me. And everybody's saying that he's out. And I'm not convinced. I've been in this game a long time. That line should move something. 7.5, 8, something. I haven't seen any kind of motion here. Let's look at some other, just casual numbers you can find anywhere. Sue files the appeal. I think it's today is when he's going to get it all done. He said he would. Detroit plays good defense, but that's with him in there. They allow just 69 rushing yards a game. That's phenomenal. Look what Dallas has at the running back. So you got to have that guy in there, and they have 20 interceptions. That defense has. That's a whole lot better than Pittsburgh and Baltimore have. Let's look at quarterback. Stafford, 22 touchdown passes, 12 interceptions. That's not bad. But Detroit only rushes the ball for 89 yards. He's going to have to step up here. Detroit been to the playoffs just once since the year 2000. I think it was about 3 years ago, and they lost to New Orleans. Never in the game. Let's take a look at Dallas. I mentioned before, this line hasn't moved. Dallas, 12-4 straight up. Very streaky this year. They're 12-4 straight up. They're 10-6 against the bookie, and they've won and covered their last 4 games. Look at these margins. By 31, 21, 14, and 10. Covering. That's not by winning. That's covering. Here's the anomaly, and I'm going to defer to the young gunslinger over here to explain this to me with his years of experience. Dallas, 8-0 on the road, 7-1 against the number on the road. But at home, just 4-4 straight up, and a very poor 3-5 against the number at the house. They run and throw the football. It's difficult to find teams in the because NFL is basically a passing league with a couple of good runners in it. You know what? I think I can pick a side on this game. This is pretty much by the book. Dallas at home, even though they've looked a lot better on the road, I'm not a Jerry Jones guy. It's no secret about that. I think he's a meddlesome owner with nothing to do. He's just bored with a whole lot of money. And Dallas been to 5 playoff games. They've won just 1 in the last, I think, 15 years. And we all remember the one they finally won. I also remember the one they lost up in Seattle when Romo was just starting his thing, when they didn't get the ball down, didn't kick that thing in. But anyway, I think it's a steady win, especially if Sue doesn't play. And if he actually doesn't play, like around Friday, we're sure he won't, because the NFL is going to announce early, I'm sure, whether or not they're going to allow his appeal or not. That line has to creep up, but I don't think it's going to be enough. I'm going to pick a score of this game, Dallas by about 15, maybe 31-16, 31-17. But I think Dallas will get the money, and I think they'll win and cover the game and move on.
All right, well, when these teams meet, the underdog is 4-1 against the spreads, also 5-0 over the total when they meet, including 4-1 over the total here in Dallas. Zach, last week when we were talking about the Packers-Lions, you backed the Packers, and I was on the Lions. I thought it was a very good match.
Never a doubt the Packers.
Well, it depends on what number you got, but I thought they could get good pressure on Aaron Rodgers and keep it real close. The stats suggest Detroit is a really dominant defense, but you saw flaws in that defense. You still see some flaws?
Well, I think their flaws are more prevalent when they're going to face a team that's played them a couple of times, as they have the key players to get things done. They still got pressure on Aaron Rodgers, but he's able to buy his time, and he knows where to throw the football against those linebackers over the middle and then deeper against the secondary. So he was able to buy his time. I'm glad he came back in the game, and Matt Flint didn't have to finish that game for all the people that had the Packers with me, but this matchup, I talked about this, playoffs are all about matchups, and I was really hoping that Carolina was going to face this Detroit team because I think Carolina would have trounced them. But this Dallas matchup's a different story. I don't understand a 7-point spread on this. I think it has a lot to do with the December run that Dallas has had, but there's no way this line should be 7 points. These two teams just played last year. It was one of the most memorable games that I can recall watching of a meltdown, and that's what Dallas does in the playoffs. They melt down. We can't forget about their history, and history shows you can't buy them at 7 points. And I'm not gonna if they had more of a better run, 2-3 years, maybe I would do that. But Detroit, they're a talented team, and they're not just gonna lay down a 7-point spread on the road in Dallas. But back to that game last year, it was in Detroit. Detroit was down big, and all of a sudden they just started to go to Megatron. That's it. It was like running the football the way they were throwing the ball to him. And he had 14 catches for 330 yards and a touchdown and the dagger at the end. And it was just an unbelievable meltdown. And Megatron, how are they going to stop him? They have the same personnel in the secondary. How are they going to game plan to stop him? They've got Jim Caldwell now at head coach, offensive guru. I think he devises some schemes to get him open, and playoffs is all about the better players, and I think Calvin Johnson rises above and has a big game again like he did last year. And they just need a little bit more balance with the running game with Joyce Bell and Reggie Bush, but I think they can get Reggie Bush free on a couple of screen plays. And the total, 49, is probably a good play, and I think this is one where you can play the underdog as well for a two-teamer with the Lions. Dallas, I do see them squeaking this out if you like money lines, but I do think the points is too much. I think it'll be a flair for the dramatics. You'll see a lot of screenshots of Jerry Jones pacing back and forth in that booth.
You think he'll be sober? The question might really be sober.
You might have to go to the side for a couple of times, walk away.
Do you think he'll hang around for the end of the game?
I think he'll be walking down on the sidelines.
He'll be walking down to the sidelines a couple of times, that's for sure. But
staggering down.
Or to the cab.
I actually picked the Cowboys to get to the Super Bowl, so let's keep that in mind.
Whoa.
7 points.
So you're picking a win, but not a cover?
That's right.
So like a 3-point.
3 points. It's going to come down to the end.
Maybe an overtime game?
I hope not.
Really?
Not that close, but
wow.
I think that it'll come down to the end. And this is a key game for Matt Stafford as well. There's a lot of talk about quarterbacks that need to prove themselves. Matt Stafford,
he does.
This is his chance to show his worth a little bit more, because obviously Jay Cutler's shown that his value is diminished, and Matt Stafford has a chance to get up there in the division with Aaron Rodgers and the NFC. But take Detroit. If they lay a dud, it'll obviously be because of Matt Stafford, but I think their defense is going to rise. Even with Sue out, they'll be able to hold the Cowboys a little bit. And then Calvin Johnson, I don't understand. I'll have to listen on the radio why the spread is so high. But after what he did last year, is one of the best games of the last 10 years of an individual player, especially at the receiver position.
I personally think if you wait, you're going to get more. When this thing with Sue is definitely, I suspect you'll get 7.5, maybe even 8. So look at that young kid taking me on, John. He's going to hurt me.
Well,
yeah.
I'll take a
Wait,
look.
I got to take notes here. I got to tape this show.
I'll take a look at the total in this game. Here's a Detroit team that's 11-5 under the total. Despite giving up 30 last week to Green Bay, they allowed 17, 17, 14, and 14 before that. Matt Stafford has a lot of yards, but 22 touchdowns, 12 picks. That's because 45 sacks. And, this defense is going to have to play well against the Dallas running game. We know Dallas goes for balance on offense. And here's the thing. Dallas at home, the defense plays better at home the last 4 games, 3-0-1 run under the total at home. Meanwhile, Detroit on the road, 8-1 run under the total. So I think it's kind of a high total. So I'll look at a lower scoring game in this one. All right, should be a great wild card weekend as they prepare for to take the number 1 and 2 teams for the previous week. Let's tell you what we have going on. Zach, your NFL run 41-21. Your college football 40-27 for the entire season. Plus college basketball 52-17-3. How can folks get aboard with you for this week?
Talk slow now, Zach. I want to write all this down.
Get your pen.
I need help, Zach.
I can't believe it's the end of the season. It's been great being on.
God, are you kidding me? When you get to my age,
nobody can.
It gets worse.
It's been great being on the show since September. We can keep it going for college basketball into January through March. But had a great time on here. Hopefully y'all keep watching.
Y'all? I thought you were. Are you from y'all? Is he from Alabama?
Oh, man.
I thought you were a Western.
But that's what happened when I watched Texas last night. Heard all the fans.
You were the only one who watched that.
But yeah, it's been a great run out here. I'm going to have some basic packages up. Obviously, NFL is probably going to be small with the playoff few games this weekend. Hopefully, maybe I can put in a few prop plays with these games to find a little bit more value for people. And then college basketball Saturday should be a big slate. Hopefully 7 games there. And then college football is winding down, but I should still have 4 to 5 games in the bowl season here.
All right, and Sean, and we will do prop bets on the show if you can get out there and dig some up. I know you're very good at that.
Well, they will have. Let me see. They should have some of that up. Like I think Jay over at Westgate will have some up. I would think in the afternoon on those games, and I'll send them over. Yeah, I always like to look at that kind of stuff. Actually, in my opinion, for whatever it's worth, there's really no secrets. And even Zach, I'm sure he knows this in his young days. How many secrets really are there in these games? I mean, we pretty much know, except asking for the refs who they're going to take. Other than that, but the props is maybe where the holes are. Like John, you've been very good with the quarterback stuff, over and under touchdown passes with each team. You really do well with that. So in my opinion, if there's really holes at all, it would be with the prop stuff. Receivers like Zach was talking about, Calvin Johnson. There's no question. In my opinion, he's a stud. There's just no question about it. Yeah, so the propositions are, I think, maybe the better way to look in these playoff games.
Yeah, and with so few games in the NFL playoffs, the odds makers don't really make mistakes with the size and the totals at this point. Right?
No secret. There's just no secret.
Yeah, they know everything. All right. Well, Jim Feist, he's off that NFL Total of the Year winner. That was the Colts Titans under last week. He's got an NFL Wildcard Game of the Year going this weekend. $79 online at jimfeist.com. Want to get it for $25 with a guarantee? Just call Jim's office 1-866-841-1655. Make sure you check out jimfeist.com for stats, articles, videos. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Good luck with the games. We'll see you next week with another edition of the NFL version of Pro Life.